Howard Coell hosted the original Saturday Night Live. Jane Curtin finally revealed Kate and Allie's secret after they had been silent for 40 years. She kept a shocking secret from her fans, didn't feel anything after receiving 2 Emmys, and didn't like the original title. According to the 77-year-old TV star, Jane had 2 lives going on simultaneously as the American public fell head over heels for her character. While on her way to Connecticut, she made an effort to remain anonymous. The unvarnished truth regarding the events of television's most beloved program is now here. It turns out to be different than you anticipated. Cambridge, Massachusetts is the place where Jane Curtin came into this world in 1947. Mother took care of the family while father ran an insurance company. They were Americans of Irish descent with roots in Ireland's County Clare. Being from a Catholic family, Jane had the good fortune to live near 2 highly prestigious universities, Harvard and MIT. She will always remember that combination of sound reasoning and strong morals. Eventually, it aided her in creating her unique style of subtle, intelligent, and subversive comedy. That was essentially the trajectory of her childhood. She attended Newton Country Day School. There was a notoriously tough admissions process at this all-girls Catholic school. At the school, they valued decency, discipline, and faith. Even when things became funny, Jane learned to maintain her composure and smile. She uses that as a secret weapon when telling jokes. Jane got her strength from keeping her composure and drawing the audience to her, unlike other people who told jokes with a lot of energy. In 1965, she left for college in New York City after finishing high school. She started her academic career at Elizabeth Satin Junior College. The school, which was also Catholic, stood smack dab in the midst of a vibrant and chaotic metropolis. New ideas, riots, and music were heard throughout the Big Apple. Jane absorbed every detail. When she returned to Boston to attend Northeastern University after a 2-year hiatus, someone noticed something was amiss with her. Quitting school to try stand-up comedy was a big choice she made in 1968. Her decision stunned everyone who knew her. After always following the rules, Jane was about to do something risky and unfamiliar. However, she wasn't beginning from square one. There was a long tradition of humor in her family. Joseph Curtin was her uncle, and Valerie Curtin was her cousin. Both were actors. Being the middle child of 3 brothers taught Jane to read a room and assume various roles, such as the level-headed observer or the peacemaker. She learned the value of tone and timing, 2 components of comedic timing, from her family's work style. Even when she was merely improvising, her performances took on a deeper significance following the loss of her older siblings. Being a TV star wasn't Jane Curtin's original goal. She had already dropped out of college by 1968 at the tender age of 21. She became a part of their small comedy group in Cambridge, Massachusetts. They performed in a tiny theater 6 nights a week, with 3 shows per night on occasion. It lacked enthusiasm. Drawing such images was risky, politically charged, and incisive. After 4 years of grueling work, Jane mastered the art of remaining composed under fire and delivered her signature witty lines with the same icy air that would later make her famous. She improved her intelligence, speed, and overall performance night after night. And when she left in 1972, she had performed over 1,000 shows. Even though she hadn't quite made it, her name was known around Boston. Pretzels, a non-Broadway musical in which she co-wrote and starred, was soon after. It debuted in the latter half of 1974 and aired for over 100 episodes. She reunited with her TLP pals, and the 3 of them created the show from the ground up. Images depicting city dwellers ranged from humorous to heartbreaking and based on actual events. One of them depicted Jane in the role of a mother with acting aspirations. She could effortlessly assume different personas in another. Her versatility as an actress, writer, maker, and showcaser of her many talents was evident to critics. The theater, however, was not always profitable. In the time between shows, Jane worked extensively in advertising. From 1972 to 1975, she was in every magazine and movie. She even played the role of a twin in an ad for deodorant. These little gigs taught her how to operate cameras, hit marks, and even decipher bizarre plots, so it's not all bad. In retrospect, she chuckled at the idea that she could sell anything by appearing serious. I was right. These ads may not have been glamorous, but they helped her develop a new acting style and gain confidence that would serve her well in the future. The year 1975 followed. In New York, the concept for SNL was merely circulating. An upcoming event was mentioned to Jane, along with the possibility that she could be suitable for a different kind of show. She and her friends went to the initial exam with low expectations. Their phone call returned her to the belief that it was merely a meeting. Despite her lack of preparation, she quickly remembered that she had a screen test sketch in her bag. Along with another auditionee, Gilda Radner, she pulled it out and sang it. The result was satisfactory. Good timing, crystal clear speech, and rapid thinking were the things the makers noticed. She became famous after landing a spot on a show that nobody had ever seen before. Upon its inception, SNL's eventual trajectory remained a mystery. Jane paid just $750.00 per week to join the first group in 1975. She was confident in her abilities despite her lack of experience on live television. Unlike the rest of the cast, Jane kept it straight. The rest of the show was wild and constantly competing with each other. She remained silent. She was careful not to seek out excessive attention or to force her views too far. They hired me for a reason, so they'll use me, she thought to herself. It was deliberate rather than idling. The disorder had no bearing on her private life. It was just her husband, their dog, and their yard. Never one to seek attention, she led a low-key existence. All she did was her job. A significant shift occurred in 1976. After Chevy Chase left, Jane became the new host of Weekend Update. On a weekly basis, she started suddenly spreading false information to millions of people. With the same collected, cool air, she had done it for years. She never wavered, whether she was paired with Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, or even on her own. They became famous for their point-counterpoint parts. Every time Aykroyd would insult her with cliches like, "Jane, you stupid slut," she would sarcastically counter with her own remarks. It was wild, abrupt, and etched in my memory forever. Jane was able to pull it off by maintaining a consistent vocal tone throughout. The more the show's popularity grew, the more famous Jane became. She played the role of the level-headed woman, the rock in an otherwise chaotic band. She could have made people laugh without screaming or wearing strange wigs. She was natural in front of the camera, had acting chops, and could make anyone else look good. Jane forced the part on many who were unwilling to play it. She claimed that her experience in commercials had prepared her for that style of playing. She was able to avoid conflict after receiving Weekend Update. She felt secure and fulfilled in her position. Despite her success, Jane struggled with one aspect of her job: engaging with the audience. She went on to say in an interview that she had low opinion of SNL viewers in the beginning. She pointed out, "I thought anyone watching had to be really dumb." Stress, not pride, was the emotion at work. To alleviate her anxiety, Jane chose to ignore the audience since it appeared like no one had ever tried the show before. With determination, she confined herself and got to work. As time went on, that changed. She witnessed the public's reactions, which included trembling, excitement, and fear. At that point, the show gained significance for her beyond its role as a means to an end. Even though she couldn't always perceive it, the energy was present. Jane Curtin was a household name in the 70s thanks to her appearances on Saturday Night Live, but being on the show wasn't always a picnic, despite the fact that she made people laugh every week. However, there was one instance that stuck out to her. In 1978, the year was? During the Point Counterpoint sketch on Friday Night Live, Dan Aykroyd stared her down and yelled out, "Jane, you stupid slut!" It was intended for the line to be both shocking and humorous simultaneously. The topic was overly dramatic and boisterous TV debates. Everyone thought it was great. Almost immediately, it turned into According to Jane, she continued to hear the same thing even after all these years. The children outside her Seattle caravan would yell, "Jane, you stupid slug!" Although it was a more refined rendition of the original drawing, its meaning remained unchanged. Since the line was so famous, TV Land included it in their list of the top 100 TV scenes. To be honest, Jane had mixed feelings about catchphrases. She knew it wouldn't work today, despite her amusement at the thought. Although she became famous from that sketch, the real story was far from humorous. One of the show's most famous actors, John Belushi, had an argument with Jane. She called him out on his addiction without hesitating. By the third season, his drug use had progressed to the point where he was unpleasant to be around. Once, she found him searching her bag for cash or narcotics. The show's producer, Lorne Michaels, was told by her, "You've got to do something. This guy is going to die." Anger and fear gripped her. Her words, however, were mostly ineffective. Furthermore, Belushi was quite forthright in telling her that, in his opinion, women were not funny. But Jane kept her head down. Her composure remained unaffected. She continued to appear and perform, proving time and again that she was a standout cast member. Jane stood out from the other performers because she was unique. After the show, most of them went out to a club, but Jane never left the house. While some of her colleagues in the entertainment industry were heavy cocaine users, she never touched a drop. She was perfectly clean. The moment her show ended, she would never attend the after-show parties, opting instead to go home to her husband. Jane was unconcerned that this made her seem like the square peg among her co-workers. She refused to budge from her convictions. The choices she had made had quote-unquote clearly paid off in the end. She persisted when others had given up or developed an addiction. Despite her troubles outside of SNL, Jane contributed to the creation of several iconic characters. Among them was Primat Conehead, the space alien's straight-faced wife who shared a home with an alien family. The idea for the larger TV screen came from Dan Aykroyd, who was under the influence of drugs when he had the thought. He connected that idea to the appearance of the large figures on Easter Island. Originally, Lorne Michaels proposed that they play the role of an eccentric alien family, but they ended up being French lawyers with pinheads. Despite Aykroyd's boisterous performance as Beldor, Jane's subdued portrayal of Primat balanced it out. The Coneheads were tremendously well received. They had their own animated series, feature film, toys, and even a Frank Zappa song after appearing in 11 episodes. Aykroyd perspired so profusely that the cone became damp, which made filming in the ensemble difficult, according to Jane. Too much time spent working would cause the cone to be filled. Jane Curtin's 1980 departure from Saturday Night Live was a turning point. She was bewildered and disoriented in Hollywood after appearing on a highly publicized TV show. Those years, she said, were difficult, stressful, and occasionally enjoyable, but eventually it all became too much. She disliked attending parties and didn't spend much time outside of work with the SNL cast. The writers always appeared sad, and she felt like it was more of a sad after the fact of death, so she stopped going. She went on countless auditions and shot pilots between 1980 and 1984, but nothing came of it. At public events, she made an effort to disappear. Being unknown was challenging. She wished she could vanish every time someone from the outside would be cruel to her. Then, towards the end of 1983, she received an unexpected pitch for a new show. It was called Two Mommies. Upon first sight, she was repulsed. Sometime later, she revealed, "I wanted to throw up." Due to its sweetness and simplicity, the name gave the impression that it didn't take the subject seriously. That awful title wasn't without merit, though. The show's creator, Coben, saw the positive impact that divorced women could have on one another and decided it would make a great show. Even a CBS manager saw potential. The show's packaging bothered Jane, but she started to believe it might have more than just filler. It might actually have something meaningful to say. The fact that the title was changed before things escalated is a blessing. Meeting with director Bill Persky, though, was the deciding factor. His work on That Girl and The Dick Van Dyke Show demonstrated his ability to bring characters to life. They spoke for hours when they finally got down to business.